What's up, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and none of the above? This is DL returning to you with more KSL Sinnoh melee content. Today we'll be covering the battle between AlecG and JustJake. So Alec has a team of Heatran, Cresselia, Cloyster, Mismagius, Umbreon, Rhydon, Manectric, Primeape, and Leafeon. Whereas Jake has the team of Celebi, Raikou, Bronzong, Hitmontop, Drapion, Tauros, Drifblim, Lapras, and Camerupt. So these are two pretty strong battlers. Been in the KSL for a little bit. Jake's got a really scary team. He went 2-0 in week 1. I'm recording right now. And so Jake's got the double psychic core of the Celebi plus the Bronzong that's been tearing it up. And, with the Raikou also being very scary. The 70 base power hidden power and the 115 base speed is very, very threatening in this generation. And Alec does not have a lot of great tools to deal with that on his side, really only having Rhydon, which gets blasted by HP Grass, especially without access to Eviolite, and potentially a Leafeon, but that's a really bad Pokemon, and Raikou does get access to Signal Beam. And Celebi, similarly, should do pretty well with access to ground moves to hit Heatran. I believe it does get Earth Power. If not, Hidden Power Ground should be pretty alright. And likely potentially something like a setup set to try to beat bulky variants of Cresselia and Umbreon, especially since Umbreon Foul Play does not exist until Generation 5. So Umbreon's kind of pretty hard setup fodder for a lot of mons this generation. Now, for Alec's side, Heatran is a pretty big threat in this matchup. Jake is kind of skimped out on some of his elemental mons, other than the Celebi, the grass type, but his water type is also an ice type. And then Camerupt is his fire type, so he does not have very good fire resist on his team. So the Heatran is an absolute menace in this matchup, especially able to use its pretty strong typing against Pokemon like Celebi, like the Drapion, like the Tauros, the Drifblim as well. So Heatran's an absolute menace in this matchup. Similarly, Mismagius can do a lot of work. The Drapion and the Tauros are the ghost resists on this team, not the bulkiest mons out there. And Mismagius has a pretty strong speed tier, only being outsped by the Tauros and the Raikou, I believe. And Manectric does get access to Signal Beam, and Jake's ground type is Camerupt. So Manectric also bringing a really strong speed tier, and should be able to do quite a bit of work in the matchup. So let's get into the game here. Let's go to turn 1. So we're seeing the Manectric versus the Camerupt. So we sort of expected the Manectric to come with a Hidden Power Water and a Pasho Berry from the Camerupt, but all he does is get up the rocks there. So you go right into the Raikou on the next Hidden Power Water. That makes sense. Raikou is able to handle a lot of electric types very effectively because of its strong natural bulk and its pure electric typing. Electrics don't generally carry a lot of coverage for it, and Raikou gets access to a really strong setup move in Calm Mind for the 1v1s against opposing electric types. And that has been a set that Jake has shown a tendency to bring so far in this tournament, and been very effective. This Raikou's wreaked havoc on a couple of opponents at this point, but I think it especially just went to town and in one game got like 5 kills, something ridiculous like that. So something to note is that the Raikou is not shiny, so I don't think there's any chance of it having Aura Sphere. I'm not even sure if it gets it this gen or not. He does reveal the Calm Mind and the Thunder Wave, so that's a really good tech from Alec, recognizing the potential effectiveness of a Calm Mind Raikou in the face of a Manectric that's otherwise very strong against Jake's draft. In Generation 4, Thunder Wave still Paralysis still affects electric types. That gets changed in Generation 5. So that's a really nice, that's a huge paralysis for Alec against the Raikou, which I believe would naturally outspeed every Pokemon on Alec's team. And especially with the paralysis being quarter speed this generation, the Raikou is going to go from the fastest mon in the game to potentially the slowest, depending on what Alec has brought. So he does bring out the crest, so should be able to tank the hits very comfortably. We see leftovers, so definitely a bulky crest. The +1 hidden power, don't know what typing that is at the moment. We take a look at Alec's draft, likely grass or water to try to hit the Rhydon. Did hit the crest neutrally. He does reveal the Signal Beam. So this would be the tech to, one, hit the crest harder, but also to hit the Leafeon, as we mentioned. So the other electric resist. So the Psych Up tech. So Alec has really prepared well for Raikou. Blaze is raging that Psych Up does not exist apparently in Generation 8. Oh no, Signal Beam. Okay, yeah. I didn't think that Signal Beam had been not Signal Beam, Psych Up had been cut, but yeah, Signal Beam no longer exists in Generation 8. Neither does Hidden Power. Yeah, everything's fine. So yeah, Alec definitely the most prepared person we've seen for this Raikou thus far in the tourney. And Jake definitely has some tricks of his sleeve of his own so far. The Pasho Berry on the camera up to very smart brain to try to deal with the Manectric. Based on the damage he took, it looks like he even potentially EV'd to live a Hidden Power Water from full from Manectric as well. You see the Hidden Power Ground come out from the crest, and that's just going to bop the Drapion. Very nice for Alec to have that catch the Drapion on the switch. That crunch is going to do a lot. This is potentially maybe a choice banded Drapion based on that damage. But yeah, this crest looks like it was specifically tailored to try to deal with this Raikou. With the assistance of the Thunder Wave from the Manectric, which is also a very clear anti-Raikou tech in the way that this matchup looked like on paper in the preparation stage. So yeah, crest is very low at this point, but +1 on the special side. So we'll see how Jake tries to revenge kill it. We take a look at the Pokemon that he has at his disposal. Tauros could be, we mentioned one of the reasons that we think that Jake drafted the Tauros is because it is a strong physical mon, whereas this team's somewhat lacking in strong physical breakers. So I'd expect a Tauros to come out if he has it on his team. And, it does get access to Earthquake, which could help it deal with the Heatran, which is one of Alec's premier normal resists on his team. Alternatively, I don't think the Signal Beam will kill because at neutral, the Signal Beam, that was +1 Raikou. The Signal Beam only did 33. So this is looks like a very heavily Spadef Cresselia. So if he only has special attackers, or maybe only has like a defensive Hitmontop on his team, I don't think he can deal with this. Oh, but he does have the Drifblim. So this does have super effective stab. I don't know how strong this thing really is. Don't know if it really can try to Oko the crest, because that was a +1 Raikou. And so that's basically a strong as stab. And yeah, it's going to do about the same damage. He does get the Spadef drop, so that is very helpful for him. But yeah, the crest does live to tell the tale and gets a little bit healthier. So expect maybe another Moonlight here. And potentially a switch out. There's a Jake could potentially go for a status move here. I'm not sure what this Drifblim really brings in this generation. Really a mon that didn't see, it's kind of an unmon in Generation 7, started to see a little bit of love in Generation 8 with access to the Strength Sap move. But it's very interesting to see how Jake utilizes this mon. And apparently it's getting crit. Getting a crit there. I think crits still do like a lot of damage in the early gens too, more than they do now. So yeah, that is a massive crit that's really going to set Alec back. The Raikou is still at full HP as well, so the crest still had a fairly significant responsibility in handling that Raikou, but the paralysis should help in that regard, especially if Alec's carrying a very hard-hitting Pokemon for that to get the Oko on the Raikou, potentially the Rhydon be something to look at. This Manectric's going to come right back out. Would expect probably just a Thunderbolt here to happen. Hidden Power Water should be able to pick off Camerupt if it comes in, though Jake could of course try to double into something like the Celebi in that case. But yeah, Raikou is I thought was more likely to come out in this situation. So likely the last move on Raikou is obviously Electric Stab and Thunderbolt. I would anticipate that Alec would switch into whatever he wants to hit the Raikou with, because Manectric is not going to do much, because this is probably about its strongest move to hit this thing with. because the hidden power is water. I mean, maybe if he has overheat, but that'll be lowering his own special attack. But yeah, I would definitely expect either the Rhydon to be revealed in this situation, or potentially he might go hard into something like a Primeape, Heatran in this situation. To try to play a little more aggressively, because I can't really see Jake going for much other than potentially a Calm Mind here. Oh, but he goes for the Raw Thunderbolt, predicting the switch. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I guess he doesn't want to gamble too much and rely on getting boosts with him being paralyzed, the potential of the full paralysis. But Primeape does manage to live that. The Raikou is only at neutral. And this is potentially Scarf Primeape. AlecG has shown a tendency to bring that set. And be curious to see how Jake plays this. I would expect him to preserve this Raikou, considering how effective it is at stopping the Manectric from, really running through his team. With knockoff being, I don't think Primeape even actually has access to knockoff today, let alone knockoff only being 20 base power. As the Scarf Primeape, which I anticipated, does go for Earthquake here. I would have expected a hard Drifblim there. I don't think there was really a lot of downside to making that play, because now with the damage that has gotten off on this Raikou, it's basically useless now because it can't take any hits. Yeah, free HP Water, no reason to even press Thunderbolt there, in the case that he did pivot into the Camerupt. Yeah, AlecG Scarfer is down, but the Super Fastmon on Jake's side is also down. So Hitmontop does get revealed, and it's not Intimidate, it is Technician, so that's a tip-off that it is carrying the Mach Punch in this game. It's this Mismagius does get revealed. Hitmontop also not known for having good dark moves to hit ghost types, so that's a good pivot into Mismagius, as it's going to Shrek that Camerupt. So Jake only has one Pokemon left to reveal. It's likely the Celebi, just because that's such a strong mon, but it could potentially be Bronzong. Based on what we're seeing here, I'd imagine it is a Celebi. And on the AlecG side, this is undoubtedly a Heatran in one of these slots, but it could be an assortment of different mons in the other slot. Potentially Cloyster, Umbreon, potentially, and I'd say Rhydon be another top candidate. So yeah, Rhydon offensively is very strong against Jake's draft. If you look at, I believe it gets access to Mega Horn, though I don't know if that happens in Generation 4 actually. But Earthquake's good for here. Though actually Bronzong is a pretty strong stop to that. But if he was really terrified of the Raikou, he could have brought the Rhydon. But with him having Cress, I guess it's less likely. So he missed a turn. So this looks like potentially Specs Mismagius based on this damage, as a leftover Hitmontop with Toxic. So the Toxic is going to be very important for him to try to wear down this Mismagius, especially if he's carrying something like potentially a Protect. But definitely a Mach Punch we're expecting, with it opting for the Technician ability. And it does have Earthquake as well, as we saw earlier. Maybe expecting, or not wanting to, expecting potentially a Choppleberry Heatran, I'd say, is why the Earthquake is brought from there. If we look at the other mons who potentially even be covering it for, it would be Manectric is the only other mon that gets hit harder by Earthquake than it does something like a Close Combat. As the Celebi does come out, as we anticipated, but both these last two mons are weak to Ghost, and Mismagius is looks like going to be cleaning up the game. The Celebi was not Scarf. Yeah, well played from AlecG. Really, really smart brings from all of these that we've seen so far. The Thunderwave tech on Manectric was excellent against the Raikou. Jake could have potentially tried to counterplay that bring with a substitute on the Raikou, like a substitute Calm Mindset, but I guess he was sort of pressed for coverage here. With the ground type that AlecG has being Rhydon, sort of prompting him to opt for either Hidden Power Water or Grass rather than a usual HP Ice that you see on a lot of electric types to hit grounds. it made it so that he felt pressure to bring Signal Beam to hit the Leafeon as well, and also to got extra value from hitting Crest. So didn't feel comfortable, looked like opting for the substitute in that slot over the Signal Beam, because Hidden Power Ice, which usually hits the ground and the grass fairly well, wasn't as strong of a bring into the Rhydon. And with the way Alec brought the Hidden Power ground tech on Crest was also really huge, able to take out the Drapion, covering 2 burns with 1 stone, with Hidden Power Gun hitting both the Raikou and Drapion. And that's really what paved the way for this Mismagius cleaning up at the end here, is that Mon going down. It looks like Jake really didn't have a lot for the Mismagius in his build. Maybe something he could look to improve on in his next game, or maybe to play a little less friskily with his Drapion, because yeah, that going down, he just didn't have any Ghost Resist left on his team, with 2 of his Mons being weak to Ghost, the Camerupt already being low, and Raikou being paralyzed as well. This Mismagius was just poised to clean up, I'd say, actually from the point that the Drapion went down. All Alec had to do was make sure the Raikou didn't get out of control, it seems, because or to not make sure that, also not to give Cresselia free setup, but it looks like he had pretty good options for that. And the Primeape did a really nice job as well, able to tank the hit and get off the damage he needed on Raikou to make sure that that wasn't able to stop Manectric anymore. Yeah, really well played from Alec. Jake played a pretty good game as well. Yeah, this Mismagius doing a lot of work here. Not a lot of dark types get Pursuit this generation. At least there's not a lot of good dark types with Pursuit. So I think you can see a lot of Ghosts be very effective here. But yeah, this Drapion, I think, is definitely the one thing that Jake's got to be a little disappointed in himself about in this matchup, how he played this. Another benefit of not being team preview is he didn't know for sure that the Mismagius was here, that Alec had brought it. And if he had seen that, I can't imagine that he would have played the Drapion in the same fashion that he did. Well, anyways, that's going to be all. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day, and look forward to casting some more games.